I'm back. I did about 100 or maybe 80 or 90 Instagram live Apéro hours, and I realized I never did the drink that sort of brought me back to drinking and cocktails, and is one of my favorite cocktails, if not the favorite. Sort of fighting with the Boulevardier. And it's sort of similar taste profile, but it's the Manhattan. And all of a sudden I had a hankering for Manhattan today. Today is Roman's brother's birthday. It's also my friend Clifford's birthday, who lives in Hawaii. So if he's awake, it's 6 a.m. there. Oh, hi Heather. We had lunch today at Secrets of Paris. We had an interesting discussion at lunch.
Hello everybody.
And Roman is making dinner for his brother. Usually,
Beaucoup de travail.
it's a lot of work, but he's been working on, if you saw my Instagram live video this morning, we went to the market and he got these beautiful radishes and he cut them all up. You need to go back to work. No. I said, but often we have a dinner party and he says, I'm going to help you, and I end up doing a lot of the work. So I made him do everything. So it's tough. It's called tough love. For those of you that have children, you understand what I'm talking about. I said I will make dessert. So I made cream puffs. We're gonna have cream puffs with chartreuse and caramelized cashew ice cream and chocolate sauce. And I'm gonna do a video, I think, of these someday, because people often write to me and they go, I made them and mine were flat. And the recipe is standard all over the world. There's not a lot of recipes for pâte à choux. And I don't know what to tell people except this is what they're supposed to look like. So maybe that's a future video. I'm sorry, there's somebody working behind me, but at least he's working. He's cutting up quoi? Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. So I know that a lot of you saw the video with him this morning. It was cute at the market because often people get a little antsy when they're being videotaped and nobody cared, so it was a lot of fun. But the Manhattan's a very interesting cocktail. It's always, what? He's gonna come back when it's time to taste because he's got work to do. He doesn't realize how much work a dinner party is because often he just shows up at the time of dinner and I've done everything, so. Okay, I'll stop talking about that because he's looking at me now, and I always think he doesn't understand, but he does. The Manhattan is a cocktail. Traditionally, it's whiskey and sweet vermouth, red vermouth. And the original recipe, according to David Lebovitz, who is a classic cocktail, he's a cocktail historian, very smart guy, does a lot of research, and he says that the official recipe just says whiskey. So basically, you can use whatever you want. And there's several different kinds of whiskey in the world. There's Irish whiskey, there's Scotch whiskey, which is very malty and often tastes sort of... Oh, sorry about that poor connection, but they were having internet issues again, which is normal. But there's different kinds of whiskeys. There's Scotch, there's Irish. This is rye whiskey, which is very American. It's made with rye, of course, at least 50% rye in the mix. So it's kind of spicy and maybe smoky a little bit. And it's quite good. This is all going to be a lesson in being open-minded about things. I was always like, I love rye whiskey, and rye is awesome, and all I want is rye. I hate everything else. No, I don't hate everything else. But then I was in Kentucky. I was in Cincinnati last year, and I didn't realize Cincinnati you can walk to Kentucky from there. So I went to Kentucky, and we went to a bourbon distillery, and they offered us a cocktail. And j'ai parlé from the distillery Kentucky. And I said, can I get a Manhattan with rye, please? And they go, we don't have any rye. And someone said to me, this is Kentucky, it's all bourbon. So I actually really like bourbon. A friend of mine who is a big bourbon drinker, Elizabeth Carmel, she said, you know what, when I go into a bar, if I don't know what to order, I'll often just get a glass of bourbon with ice in it. And that's actually a great cocktail. If you ever go to a bar and you're not sure about the place, get a bourbon on the rocks. And it's terrific. It's a terrific drink. I was with my friend Brad Parsons, who might be tuned in. He's like, have them pour ginger ale over it. It's really good. Anyhow, the French, it's interesting because when I was doing research for drinking French, I was talking to people at the whiskey shop. And peut-être tu peux faire ça après, si tu plais. He's like grinding pepper. Okay. And they said, well, French people don't like bourbon because it's sweet, which is kind of funny because there's 1,363 pastry shops in Paris. So, and most of them make pastries that are sweet. So they must like sweet. Anyway, so you can get bourbon in Paris. It's not super popular. Four Roses you can get at most supermarkets, and it's very reasonable. So I know a lot of you, I was making drinks when I was doing my Apéro hour regularly with chartreuse. People kept saying how much it costs. Well, this is 18 euros here in France, so it's probably about the same price in America. So if you buy this and a bottle of chartreuse, okay, now he's knocked over all my masks on the floor. Romano, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Okay, that makes, you can average out the price of there. Whoops, I'm gonna hit this little button. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a Manhattan. And the main things you just need are, you need whiskey and you need red vermouth. And I'm gonna grab mine because it's good to keep vermouth in the refrigerator, it keeps better. Wow, I used a lot of vermouth when, ça va? Tu aimes le vermouth?
Oui, j'aime beaucoup.
Okay, this is the vermouth from Dolin, and for those of you who remember, I had Pierre Olivier, the owner of the distillery. A lot of people like Italian vermouths, red vermouths. This is Carpano. Italian vermouth, red vermouths are very juicy, very fruity. C'est très fruité, c'est très italien, c'est plein dans la bouche. So it's very full in the mouth, very fruity, and so forth. And there's another one, Kochi, and I'm probably mispronouncing it. That's quite good too. However, people were like, why don't you ever use Italian vermouth? I was like, well, the whole point of these videos, this whole series, Apéro, was to use French things. So I'm trying to use French things as much as possible. So there you go. I love Italians, I love Italian food, I love Italy, I love Italian vermouth. However, that's for a different video series. And I've got to work on my Italian before I start doing that. Tu parles italiano?
Malheureusement pas.
Okay.
Et,
when we go to Italy, everybody thinks he's Italian because his name is Romain or
my
Roman.
father is a trilling. Italiano.
His father's Italian?
Germany.
German?
Allemand.
Okay.
Et bah oui, parce qu'il était suisse-allemand.
Oui, il est suisse-allemand. Swiss
non,
German.
mais il parle allemand et français.
Ah oui, mais il est marseillais aussi.
Oui, mais il est né à Marseille, mais sa famille
He was born
a
in Marseille.
immigré à Marseille avant la guerre.
So his family immigrated to Marseille before the war.
Et
And his father, je vais expliquer, Virgile a dormi à côté le Louvre dans le jardin pour 2 semaines.
Le premier jour, il est arrivé à Paris.
Elle m'a
avec un sac
tu m'as dit 2 semaines.
C'est vrai? Ah,
Oui.
je me souviens pas.
So
2 semaines?
Roman's father, when he moved to Paris, this is à quelle année?
En 45?
1945. He slept in the gardens outside of the Louvre because he didn't have a place to stay.
Il avait juste un sac de livres.
He had just had a bag of books. So, tu es fini avec tes projets, Romano?
Mes projets.
Pour dîner?
Ah, mes projets artistiques ou mes projets...
No, les projets, le dîner, tu fais.
Oui,
I
je
said,
suis prêt.
how are you doing with your project? And he said, with what project? I'm like,
Artistic project.
Wait, okay. Tu es complètement fou.
Ça t'intéressera.
See, and he bought, this is called new garlic, and it comes in, people often don't realize garlic has a season, but this is fresh garlic, and it's very, very fragrant, but it's not harsh because it's not old and it hasn't gotten,
Delicious.
It's really garlicky, but it's not harsh because it's not old and acrid, I should say. So this is what it looks like, and we're very fortunate to get it. When I worked at Chez Panisse, they used to make a really lovely soup with spring garlic that was delicious.
C'est marrant la comparaison d'odeur.
C'est bon aussi.
Avec la nette.
So speaking of aromatics, the other ingredient, in addition to bourbon or whiskey, you can use rye whiskey, it's fine. I'm going to lower this just a bit. Whiskey and vermouth is to have an aromatic bitter. Aromatic bitters doesn't really there's not a strict definition of aromatic bitters. Generally, you can think of spicy. Somebody I once read said, think of gingerbread. The spices that go in gingerbread are similar to the Apéritifs. And my friend Brad Parsons, who sometimes tunes in, by the way, he has a really good book called Bitters, and it was a book that I learned a lot about bitters from. It's a wonderfully written book. It's very entertaining. And there was a 24-hour sale on the ebook on Kindle for $1.99. So if you want that book, a lot of people, he was a guest on the show, and a lot of people asked me about the book, and it's a great deal for $1.99, so you can get it. I think it's on all ebook platforms, so you can get it anywhere. So this is an aromatic bitters I bought last week. It's made by the Suze Company, and they're not available in the U.S. I went to this place called the Caves of Roy, Les Caves de Roy. It's a place up in the 18th arrondissement of Paris. Now that everything's open, in the place, everything's up to the ceiling. So these were at the tippy top. So I made the guy get me a bottle, and then he came down, and I said, "Oh, it's the wrong one." And he kind of looked at me, and he went up and got the other one. And then I realized I wanted the one he had got because this one is, it's gentian, which is a bitter herb, muscade, nutmeg, and anise. And I opened it up, and the anise is completely overwhelming. And I don't mind anise, but I don't want too much of it in my cocktail. So I'm going to use this cardamom because, Romain, tu aimes ça? Tu aimes
La
ça?
cardamome.
He said he liked the cardamom bitters. So this is one of the easiest cocktails to make, and even unlike the martini, there's no controversy about the quantity of ingredients. It's 2 parts whiskey.
Tu me dis si tu veux que j'aille chercher les glaçons.
Okay, merci. So there's 2 ounces of whiskey. And then 1 ounce of vermouth, red sweet vermouth. There's a variation on this called the Perfect Manhattan, and you split the vermouth. You use half dry, half sweet. And my friend Deb Perlman, Smitten Kitchen, she loves that drink. She loves the Perfect Manhattan. We have similar drinking habits, her and I. One good thing, I had lunch with my friend Heather, Secrets of Paris, who tuned in. A lot of the cafes, they're all supposed to distance their tables 1 meter, 3 feet apart. But the place we had lunch at today was an African restaurant. They had beautiful, was in a nice little square. And the woman behind my friend Heather was smoking. She had like 4 or 5 cigarettes during lunch. But you couldn't smell them so much because she was farther away. So let's keep this distancing going. So, romance from my eyes. Oh, I have ice. So that's it, basically. You've got 2 ounces of whiskey, 1 ounce of vermouth. And then I'm going to add some cardamom bitters. And speaking of David Wondrich, the cocktail expert, he's writing a book, a huge book on everything about cocktails, the history, I think it's the Oxford Companion. I was recently reading, and he said you need to stir it 50 times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, okay, it's harder to speak the numbers so fast in French because they're longer. 47, 48, 49, 50, 50. J'ai dit les numéros sont beaucoup plus longs.
En français?
Oui. Et tu veux chercher le verre?
Ouais.
And once I shook these, before I really knew much about cocktails, a nice chilled glass, and people went nuts. They were like, "You can't shake a Manhattan." I'm like, actually, you can do whatever you want. You know, so it is better to stir them because it keeps that nice clarity. But I like my martini shaken now because it makes them very cold.
Oh my God.
C'est cool, c'est bon. So since we're having a dinner party tonight, probably unusual to have a cocktail. It's only 6:15 here. Quoi? Tu fais ça quand j'ai fait ça? J'ai appris ça. Okay. And, okay, no, just ne mets pas dans le cocktail. Tu peux, two options. You can put either a candied cherry, soit de cerise confit, soit ça. Mais je vais mettre une cerise dedans. Mais juste, so we're just gonna, tu veux mettre express, comment on dit? I don't know the word for express. Pressé. Oui, dessous de la cocktail. Pas, oui. Merci beaucoup. And I bought these beautiful cherries today. Often when I buy cherries at the market, people go, what do you make with them? What do you make with them? And you know, I love just eating cherries. J'adore manger les cerises. Les gens disent, qu'est-ce que tu vas faire? They had these beautiful, actually it's very hard to get sour cherries in
Juste les
Paris.
manger.
Oui, c'est comme ça. It's very hard to get sour cherries in Paris. You rarely see them. They're very rare everywhere. It's very hard to get because they turn a funny color. But they had a cajou, lugs, I guess you call it in English, like a wooden
Plateau.
Comment
on dit en
thing,
anglais?
a bin, case, yeah, like a lug. And I was like, I got to get them, but then I realized I was going to spend my whole day pitting them and preparing them. So, and yeah, it's not traditional to put a fresh cherry in, but these were so perfect. I just thought it'd be fun to use one. It takes up a lot of space in the glass, which is why
C'est joli.
it doesn't really add that much flavor, but okay, good. Uh-oh, I said now you have to taste it because he picked it up. C'est bon.
Il est léger.
He said it's light.
J'ai goûté des Manhattan plus forts, mais il est bon. C'est une revisitation de David Lebovitz.
Non, c'est classique.
D'accord.
It's very good.
Avec la cardamone.
Oui, un peu de cardamome.
C'est bon. C'est très délicieux.
Oui, mais si tu veux, oui, c'est léger.
Oui, c'est léger, oui.
Mais si tu veux, on peut mettre. So we're gonna put. I'm gonna put a drop of this in and see if it. It's very anisey though, so I'm just gonna really put a couple of drops in.
C'est rouge.
Well, the color's really nice. Sorry to put it on my hand, but then you get a better idea what it looks like.
Tu t'es blessé?
No, he asked if I cut myself. Good.
Oui, c'est la...
Ouais. Just a little stir. Because I made the guy go up to the ladder and get this, and because it cost 23 euros. So.
Oui, c'est meilleur.
Ah oui, c'est bon.
Peut-être
He
un-
likes it better.
C'est plus personnel.
But the bourbon is much lighter than rye whiskey. C'est plus léger que le whisky de seigle.
Ah,
Oui.
et ça, c'est un whisky de quoi?
De seigle.
Ah, ça, c'est plus léger que le whisky de seigle ou c'est plus léger que le whisky...
Ça, c'est plus fort. Tu veux goûter la cerise?
Non, c'est pas toi.
Oui. So now he wants one.
Le vintage?
No. So there you go. The Manhattan. I was gonna say the perfect Manhattan, but the perfect Manhattan is half dry vermouth, half sweet vermouth. So I guess we could call it the Manhattan
Très
parfait.
très bon avec la cerise.
Ouais, he said it's very good. The bourbon. Oh, bourbon. Les bourbons, c'est super bon avec les cerises. Quoi?
Le bourbon, oui.
Le bourbon
Oui.
est
Oui.
très bon avec
Oui,
les
j'ai
cerises. Tu
compris.
parles français?
Oui, j'ai compris, mais je réfléchis au goût.
Yeah,
Je
okay.
ne suis pas un ordinateur avec un logiciel de goût.
He said he's not a computer with with taste software. Si, je cherche le.
The morning is David is a output is a battery for me.
Oh, and every morning I try to find out where the batteries are so that I can unplug, I can remove them. So I can.
What? Because I not understand.
Parce que tu es trop.
Ça fait 18 ans que
Yeah,
je
well,
pose
sorry
la
it's pausing a little bit, but I was trying to watch videos today. We have very bad internet service here, so, and I've had it for years. So if somebody would like to come forward and change my internet service provider, I'd be thrilled. A friend of mine here has the same provider I have, and he returned his equipment, and they said he forgot to put one of the cords in it, and they kept charging him 400 euros. So I'm kind of not psychologically prepared to take it. Things like that are very difficult here. Roman just had to get a new remote control for his. We have the same internet provider, and it was very, very challenging. It took about 4 phone calls, and I finally sent one, and he's afraid to use it because he goes, I'm not psychologically ready to go through the process of getting it connected because it's very difficult. So anyway, sorry about the poor internet service, but I said if anybody would like to step forward and take that task on, I'd give you a free cocktail. How's that? All right, well, thanks for tuning in. I know probably a little surprise. I got to help Roman cook dinner, I guess. Or unless maybe I can go lie down or something. And hopefully maybe I'll see you later this week. I was trying to get to a local bar. I've got to figure out how to bring the camera and tripod and make it all work. There was also a local bakery I wanted to take you to, and the owner, I said, when can we come? He's like, I don't know, it's very difficult. I was like, okay, well, just 10 minutes. J'ai dit à Natania, j'aimerais visiter. Okay, so I'll see you next time. In the meantime, enjoy Manhattan. And there's a recipe on my blog for it. If you didn't get the recipe here, go to my blog and you'll find the recipe. C'est très bon. All right, ciao. Tu veux dire au revoir?
Oui, j'ai déjà dit.
Okay.
Helen.
No, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Et David,
Quand tu finis, the end, ça c'est tu appuies le bouton rouge.